I always just think of this one. He was a tear off contractor where they tear roofs off and, there's up there on a roof throwing all the debris into a container down on the driveway. They're just kind of known for not having the most highly skilled workers. They just try to get in, get a job done as quick as they can, but they're all working at heights. And this one guy in particular, he had a big job. He was doing pretty well. I want to say maybe 10 million a year in revenue, and was getting a lot of work with Tesla. And so he was having a hard time finding more and more workers that wanted to do this type of work. So I think he found a 22-year-old kid who had no experience, and it was like his first day on the job, and he didn't spend any time training him on safety or even have anyone kind of watch out for him to make sure that he's doing things the safe way. And the first day on the job, this young guy tripped on like a metal pipe coming out of the roof, flipped over the side, landed on his head, ended up having to get rushed to the emergency room for a craniotomy, where they remove part of your skull, craniectomy, I think it's called. He was in a forced coma for like a week or two. It was just the worst. And the business owner's telling me this. He's like, so what are you going to do so I'm ready when OSHA shows up? And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. You should have been doing this years ago. And I've been telling you. I even offered to come out and do safety talks for him. And he just never thought it was important. Told me his guys aren't going to pay attention and listen. He never took me up on my offer. So yeah, he's not in business anymore. And he's probably had to deal with things that I didn't even hear about from him. But I know that if he was going to still be in business, like no workers' comp carrier would want to offer him insurance. And if he goes to the state plan, which is the last resort, he'd be paying through the roof. I've seen roofers pay as high as like $60 per 100. So a 60% rate. And how are you going to be profitable if you're paying that much in workers' comp insurance?
Oh my goodness.
So situations like that, when you're already in an industry where the insurance costs are sky high, and then you've got a bad injury like this, and just the reputation, because everyone finds out about it too.
Hey guys, it's Karalynn, and welcome back to the podcast. And today we're going to talk about all things safety with Eric Wick. Eric Wick is the founder of Safety Team Technologies, a software company revolutionizing safety for the blue-collar business. After 15 years as an insurance broker for high-risk industries like construction, manufacturing, warehousing, and transportation, Eric saw a painful pattern. Business owners were buried in red tape, exposed to liability, and left scrambling to meet OSHA requirements with little time to tools or support. He founded Safety Team Technologies to change that. With firsthand insight from dozens of OSHA audits, tailgate talks, and job site hazard assessments, Eric built a scalable system that automates compliance without the complexity. His platform consists of online admin portal and a mobile app that helps blue-collar companies deliver required safety training in both English and Spanish, customized to the specific risks of their trade. From tailgate meetings to job site hazard assessments and incident reporting, Eric helped business owners protect their crews, cut liability, and keep operations running smoothly. That's exciting. So before we dive in, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Karalynn. I appreciate the introduction. So yeah, I'm from San Jose out here in California, probably known for having the most red tape out of all 50 states. And, I never thought that I was going to end up being someone who comes out to help a contractor with their safety program. It certainly doesn't sound like a sexy way to spend most of your time in your career, but it's something I fell into, and it started out by falling into insurance because similar to safety, nobody dreams of becoming an insurance person, but it's a great industry. So after a couple of years as an insurance broker, I realized, man, there's just so much competition. Anyone out there listening who's when their workers' comp renewals coming up, or even their general liability, their phone just starts ringing off the hook with all these brokers all day, right? Can I quote your insurance? We've got a special program for contractors. Can give me a chance to quote. And it's like one call after the other. So I realized if I'm going to be successful and actually earn a good living, I'm going to have to differentiate. And so I decided I'm going to become an OSHA compliance expert and offer any company that's willing to work with me on the insurance side to be their support person for putting together an IIPP, which we can talk about, as far as I would offer to go as far as showing up at their job sites to do safety trainings with their workers. And so you ask how I got to where I am today, where we started this tech company that can automate safety compliance. I mean, imagine having 20 clients where you promise them you're going to go out and do their safety meetings.
Yeah.
And I start realizing I stretched myself a little thin here. Like this isn't going to be sustainable. So I think I was just stressed out, and I'm like, how could we ever like automate this so I could still offer it to my clients, but without me having to be the one physically dragging a 100-foot extension cord and a projector screen across the construction site while all these Latino workers are looking at me like, who is this kook? You know, because that's what we would do is we play a video in Spanish and then have the guys watch the safety video, then pass around a clipboard. They all sign their name, and then I scan it and send it to my client. Like, there you go. We did your safety training today. Yeah. So I started talking to software engineers, some really smart individuals I knew. Probably one of the benefits of living here in San Jose is there's no shortage of those types. Found out it would be possible to create something like that. And so I talked to a few of my clients that really valued the service I brought to the table. I said, hey, would you invest money if I started this company where we create a digital platform that can actually automate not just tailgate trainings, but also provide a digital solution for hazard assessments and incident reporting through a mobile app? They said, oh yeah, that sounds great. And I trust that you would do a good job. So raised the money from my clients, started the company, spent a couple of years kind of, building it up slowly with all of my existing clients who knew me before kind of letting go of the insurance business and just focusing on this full time. So that's how I got to where I'm at today.
So tell me a little bit about the platform. How do people use it? What does it look like? How does it work?
So there's two aspects of it. There's one, which is the online admin portal, where like the business owner or their HR administrator or their office manager can log in, add employees, go to the calendar, schedule a date for the first safety training to be. And then what happens is once they pick a date, all the future trainings automatically get scheduled in the frequency that OSHA requires for the industry. Gotcha. So in most states around the country, for licensed contractors, you're supposed to do a tailgate training every 10 business days. Some states are a little more lax, like Texas, for example. States that don't have like their own state OSHA program, it's a little more lax. But states like California, it's like, no, every 10 working days, you have to have a documented safety training.
Gotcha.
So we set it to be in that frequency. And then on the morning of every scheduled training, all of the employees will get a text message on their phone reminding them they have a safety video that's pre-programmed in our app. They just have to open the app, watch the video. It'll be in Spanish or English. They choose. The videos are only 2 to 3 minutes long. So they're precise, they're to the point, and they're always on a topic that is relevant for the type of work they do.
Gotcha.
Then they would sign their name on their phone with their finger, and then they take a short quiz, and the quiz is gamified. So if they get a question correct, they get 10 points. Gotcha. And then there's a leaderboard. So we did this just because psychologically, nobody wants to be at the bottom, right? Some employees hate it because they're like, that's why I work in construction. I never wanted to take a quiz again. But it's like, hey, it's just for fun and to help, incentivize you to pay attention to the video. So maybe you'll learn something, which will, might prevent you from getting hurt someday. So the employers like that. And then they can log in. They could download their attendance forms digitally whenever they want. Gotcha. They could see in real time as the employees complete the training. And they automatically get emails from us letting them know who did complete the training that day and who did not. Okay. And then they get a second day. The employees have another day to get it done.
Gotcha.
So then the other aspect of it is the digital hazard assessments, where they can have a supervisor open our app on a job site, pull up a hazard assessment checklist, and go through the job site and check off like each hazard, whether or not it's a hazard or it's clear. And if they identify a hazard, they can fill out another form in the mobile app. And if they want to fill out a corrective action report, they can do that too.
Gotcha. Does it help with like safety plans? I know there's all these commercial contracts have to have some sort of safety plan in place.
Yeah. So when you say safety plan, I think you're referring to like the binder that's the IIPP.
Correct.
I go off of the OSHA terminology just because I had to learn it the right way.
Yeah.
So injury illness prevention program is what OSHA calls it. Yeah. And it's like a 30 to 50 page binder that tells, who's in charge of the safety program, who's ultimately accountable, and then what's the plan to implement the safety program. Gotcha. So I used to create those for my clients, but honestly, now with like ChatGPT, you can go into ChatGPT and prompt like the industry you're in, the state you're in, how many employees you have, the type of work you do. And after a few iterations, ChatGPT will create a pretty darn good written safety program for you.
Gotcha.
So you print that off, keep it in your truck or bring it to the job sites. Honestly, I don't see many contractors struggle with having the IIPP.
Gotcha.
They struggle with implementing it, actually following through on what they say they're going to do. It's like, yeah, we're going to do a safety talk every week. And then if someone goes to inspect it or audit it, they go, okay, show me the attendance forms. And it's like 9 out of 10 times it's a deer in headlights. Like, I know we do them. I don't know where the attendance forms are, though. Maybe someone brought them home. I don't know.
And then, so how does it help, or does it help with, like, if there's an OSHA incident, like somebody gets hurt?
Yeah. So if there's an OSHA incident, what OSHA, or you mean if an employee gets hurt? So OSHA wants to see that you're documenting like an investigation. So the who, what, when, why, how. What was the root cause of this employee getting hurt? And then what's our action plan to prevent it from happening again?
Gotcha.
So you can log into our portal through the internet or in the mobile app and document those records. We have all the prompts there that OSHA wants to see, like what's the job site address, who's doing the corrective action plan, what exactly happened, and then what's the plan to prevent it from happening again. You just type it in. OSHA loves to see that if they come out to do an inspection and you have all of those records, it's going to be really difficult for them to justify giving you a citation or a penalty, which ultimately is the goal of like the OSHA auditor.
Yeah.
Sometimes they really don't like it when they're using our platforms. It's like, oh my gosh, they have everything. Like we can't pick them apart and leave them with the $20,000 fine. Yeah, it's something that we created that helps a lot of our clients. But still, when it comes to safety, a lot of folks out there don't want to think about it or even listen to what you have to say until it's become an actual pain point for them and they've actually dealt with it the hard way.
As a lawyer, I can testify to that.
Yeah, speaking your language, right?
It's like it's not an issue till it's an issue, and then it's a big issue.
Yeah. There's a term that I use when I'm trying to just let people know some of the things I've seen over the years, and I call it the triple dragon. So they've got all of a sudden this issue with employees getting hurt. So the first thing they're going to feel is the workers' comp insurance pain, right? So most businesses have an experience mod. So that's the way that the workers' comp industry is going to penalize you for having bad claims. And it could be pretty severe. I mean, your cost can go from $100,000 a year to $1 million a year if you got a really bad problem. So you're going to feel that one. And then while your employees are sitting at home on disability, there's nothing but ads from attorneys. Were you injured on the job? Call our office. We're going to maximize your payout. You don't know what you're missing. And so the employees could be like the best friend of the business owner, but as soon as they're hurt, it's like that could change pretty fast. So then you get the attorney sending you like a love letter to your office, like, okay, we need to see proof that you trained the employee on the safe way to do their job and all these other records. And they're like, okay, well, we don't have any of that. And attorneys can add on a lawsuit that's called serious and willful misconduct. So you're a licensed contractor. You took your license exam where there's probably, 20 questions about safety on there. And then as soon as you got your license, you never did anything to implement safety. So it's serious and willful misconduct because now you have a hurt employee. So that's pretty bad. And then the last one is when you get the friendly OSHA auditor showing up at your job sites, wanting to see your IIPP, your safety training records and all that. So it becomes a perfect storm.
So is that the true cost of an employee injury, or are there other things?
I would say those are the primary costs. I mean, the other costs are like productivity goes down. Let's say you have a big job and like one of your most productive workers got hurt. Now you suffer the loss of that productivity and you got to go replace them with someone else on top of the other three that I just talked about.
Yeah.
So some folks just don't realize how important safety is, how powerful the ROI can actually be if you're proactive about it. If you could prevent just one claim, I mean, that could save your company hundreds of thousands of dollars over the long term.
Absolutely. With all those things you mentioned, what is the biggest struggle that keeps these businesses from having these safety plans and doing the things like you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it could be different for every business, but I think the most common obstacle is just they're so busy doing everything they have to do to have a profitable, successful construction company that safety just becomes like a burden that they don't want to have to deal with. And it's always somewhere there in the back of their head, like, yes, I know we're supposed to be spending all this time doing safety talks and documenting them and doing hazard assessments. But whenever we try to do it, it just never ends up sticking. Yeah. It's like the job foreman or supervisors on the job site, they don't like doing it because they feel like they're wasting their time, and they're probably measured by their productivity, what they're getting done. And it's like, well, you told me I have to do all this safety stuff, so how am I going to get any work done?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then I think
at that right level.
Yeah. But once you have a bigger company and you're profitable and you want to continue to work with very large general contractors, at some point you're going to have to hire a full-time safety compliance manager. And hopefully they know what they're doing, and you're just going to pay to have them take care of it for you. Yeah. So our system is more geared towards companies that aren't quite at the size where they can afford a full-time salary for a safety director. Or maybe they're paying a safety person, but that safety person just isn't getting it done either. Gotcha. Which you see quite a bit too. But they're not going to think it's a problem because they're like, well, I'm paying this guy $60,000 a year. He should be getting it all done.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it should be. But you don't know until the OSHA guy shows up.
All right. So tell me, we'll get to some good client success stories, but first tell me some of the biggest disaster stories you've experienced.
Yeah, I always just think of this one. He was a tear off contractor where they tear roofs off, and there's up there on a roof throwing all of the debris into a container down on the driveway or wherever it's at. And they're just kind of known for not having the most highly skilled workers. They just try to get in, get a job done as quick as they can, but they're all working at heights. And this one guy in particular, he had a big job. He was doing pretty well. I want to say maybe 10 million a year in revenue, and was getting a lot of work with Tesla. And so he was having a hard time finding more and more workers that wanted to do this type of work. So I think he found a 22-year-old kid who had no experience, and it was like his first day on the job. And he didn't spend any time training him on safety or even have anyone kind of watch out for him to make sure that he's doing things the safe way. And the first day on the job, this young guy tripped on like a metal pipe coming out of the roof, flipped over the side, landed on his head, ended up having to get rushed to the emergency room for a craniotomy where they remove part of your skull, craniectomy, I think it's called. He was in a forced coma for like a week or two. It was just the worst. And the business owner's telling me this. He's like, so what are you going to do so I'm ready when OSHA shows up? And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. You should have been doing this years ago. And I've been telling you. I even offered to come out and do safety talks for him. And he just never thought it was important. Told me his guys aren't going to pay attention and listen. He never took me up on my offer. So yeah, he's not in business anymore. And he's probably had to deal with things that I didn't even hear about from him. But I know that if he was going to still be in business, like no workers' comp carrier would want to offer him insurance. And if he goes to the state plan, which is the last resort, he'd be paying through the roof. I've seen roofers pay as high as like $60 per 100. So a 60% rate. And how are you going to be profitable if you're paying that much in workers' comp insurance?
Oh my goodness.
So situations like that, when you're already in an industry where the insurance costs are sky high, and then you've got a bad injury like this, and just the reputation, because everyone finds out about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So then tell me some of your favorite client success stories.
Yeah. So I always think of, one of our main investors who, helped kind of champion the idea of coming up with a digital solution. They're a framing contractor, and they did have like periodic incidents. Employees are up on a ladder and they're trying to, put nails in like a high frame joist, and then an employee falls off the ladder and ends up in the hospital. But they're really conscientious about that. So they were trying to do safety trainings, but they were doing them like once a month instead of every 10 days. And they were kind of like choosing a random job site to do a safety talk at, instead of doing it like, let's say they had 7 job sites. They weren't doing it at all 7.
Gotcha.
But they started using our platform once we launched it. And they've literally had like a 40% reduction over the course of 3 years, maybe 4 years now, in their claim frequency.
Really?
So where they were averaging, let's say 10 workers getting hurt per year, now it's only 5 or 6.
Really?
Yeah. So, I'd love to say, oh, well, that's only because our platform, but it could be other factors too. but still that's a significant reduction in their insurance cost. And it's a lot less legal liability for them when OSHA shows up. Because now, OSHA knows who they are and the local employment attorneys know who they are. I mean, they're all buttoned up now. So
good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how much is something like, is it this cost? Is it a per user charge or per business?
Yeah, it's just a per user per month subscription charge. So for contractors that want to do every 10-day training, $8 per employee per month.
Gotcha.
And that's for 50 employees or less.
Okay.
Once you're over 50 employees, we'll work out a discount for you so it makes sense for your company. And then there's other industries that are non-contractors where they could just do one safety training a month and that's fine for them. So we'll do $5 per employee per month.
Gotcha.
Or if they want to do every week training, the base price is $10 per employee per month because they're getting twice the amount of safety videos. But we can always be flexible for a company that has more than 50 employees.
And so kind of what are some of the things that you're training on these videos? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so there's always a little bit of a disconnect between what OSHA says you need to be training your employees on and then what the business owner thinks they need to train the employees on. We err on the side of caution and we just choose the exact topics that OSHA recommends. Because, there's two reasons someone signs up for us. It's one, because they want to be compliant, they want to avoid legal risk. And then the other is, well, we just want to keep our workers safe. We want to prevent employees from getting hurt and also lower our insurance costs. But we just err on the side of what the compliance inspectors say. So we go strictly by the book. And, like in California and I'm sure in Houston, heat illness prevention is a requirement.
Yeah.
And so during the summer, we'll play a couple of videos on how to avoid heat illness and the signs to look for if someone might be suffering from heat illness. Workplace violence is a legal requirement in California and probably some other states too. So we build those in. And then there's a lot of fall prevention topics, like walking and working surfaces, being aware of the surface that you're working on, ladder safety, crane safety, depending on the industry you're in. So we could fully customize the lineup of videos based on the actual industry or the trade that they're in. So a fair amount of our clients are mechanical, HVAC, plumbing. So we'll do a somewhat different video lineup for them versus what a roofer or a crane operator company is going to use. And we get access to close to 2,000 safety videos from a different company that actually creates the videos. They're based out of Pennsylvania. And yeah, they were the number one company, just referred by a lot of different safety consultants that I talked to. And so we just basically licensed the videos from this other company and then build the platform.
Gotcha. And so then if they started your program and they went to their workers' comp carrier and said, hey, I'm now doing this, would they save money potentially?
Most of the time, yeah. They have to show proof that they are doing it. So that's actually something that I tell them when I'm doing the demo. If you're considering trying our system, you could go to our website, oursafetyteam.com, OUR safetyteam.com. Click on the green box for schedule 10-minute demo. And I'll quickly walk someone through how our platform works, add them as an employee so they could see a quick video, take the quiz, and then see how it all populates in the admin portal. But I always say, hey, download your attendance forms a month or two before your insurance renewal, send them to your broker and say, hey, try to get me a discount because here's proof we're doing safety training. And if you do that, it's so rare that an insurance underwriter sees that.
Yeah, really.
They never see that because no one really does it. So, and if they are doing it the old fashioned way, it's like digging through some file cabinet for a ton of wrinkled papers with coffee stains that have unlegible names written down on them. And there's no topic written down. So if you have it all digitized, it just looks really good to the insurance company.
Yeah.
And I'd say 8 or 9 out of 10 times you'll get at least a 5% credit, which will in most cases more than pay for the cost of what our service is.
Yeah. Have you figured out how to integrate with other platforms yet?
That's not something we've done yet. I talked to some of the larger contractors around the country that are using Procore or other digital systems that are more for doing estimates and other CRM, and they don't really have the best safety functionality. So the customer's well, if you find out how to synchronize with Procore, and there's maybe Service Titan is another one, and then we'll work with you. And I'm well, compared to them, I'm just still a relatively small startup. So they're not going to take time to integrate with us. But what they don't realize is there's not a learning curve for our platform. It's you set it up and then it runs on its own. It's basically on autopilot.
Well, I would imagine the general contractor would also save on their insurance if they could prove all their contractors were doing what they were doing. Like their subcontractors were doing all these safety videos and everything.
Right. I see it a lot. My clients would ask me in insurance, like, hey, review this contract for us from the general contractor. And I'm like, well, I'm just an insurance broker. So I'm going to look at the insurance. Yeah. I'm going to look at the insurance part and I'm going to tell you if you have the insurance they require or not. But a lot of times I do see where it says they have to have all the safety procedures in place, the IIPP, tailgates. And I've known a lot of clients that aren't doing anything for safety, but they just sign the contract and go, yeah, we're doing all that. Sure.
No, absolutely happens all the time. That's what I'm like, they all require safety plans. They all require, but who actually, and it obviously doesn't become an issue until somebody gets hurt and they're like, where's all your safety stuff? And then you don't really, I not only have the employee, but now you have the breach of contract because you didn't do what your contract said, right? I'm reading the rest of the contract. There's a whole bunch of bad shit in there, but
yeah,
I said, give the insurance part to your insurance broker because I don't know.
Yeah, it's common that we get asked to do basically everything under the sun. And I'm like, hey, I have a good attorney I can refer you to if you want an actual expert to review
your
contracts for you.
Because those things are terrible, let alone.
They are. It's so one-sided. Anything goes wrong, it's not the GC's responsibility. It's definitely the subs.
The whole thing is payments that way. It's all, a pay when paid kind of thing. And, kind of rough.
Oh, I'm sure you see you see everything, right? It's like, oh, you didn't read this like tiny little section of paragraph 85 on page 110 that says that you are ultimately responsible for
everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So if somebody wanted to find out more about our safety team, where would they go?
Oursafetyteam.com. It's OUR safetyteam.com. Check out our website. You can download a free OSHA compliance checklist. If you want to just see where your company's at right now, maybe you think you're doing everything. We put together a checklist you could download. And if you're ready to see a demo, click on the demo box. If you think that you just want to sign up because everything sounds great, you want to give it a try, you could just sign up on our website. It's pretty intuitive and simple to go through the setup process.
Gotcha.
Oursafetyteam.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all that in the show notes, but thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me, Karalynn. That was fun. Thank you.
Uh-huh.